Bird, Throneberry. Go. Yeah, if you can go ahead and send the UTV, we'll probably need a little more water.
Switch strips if you're not getting the kind of fire that we need.
Interior strip, Charlie to Echo. What are you looking for fire intensity wise? Throneberry, Bird. Go ahead, Bird. Soil's on his way with the UTV. Just remember to keep one foot in the black. Copy that.
I mean, between the two of these folks, you're going to have plenty of stuff to take
good
pictures
banter
of.
as well.
Yeah, and yeah, you want chitter and chatter.
No filter. Guarantee that.
Oh yeah,
I don't have
guaranteed we're not going to filter
Yeah.
anything out.
Nah.
My name is Jimmy Stiles. I'm here today to help the Nature Conservancy out with a prescribed fire that we're conducting here at the Bibb County Glades. This area is originally a fire-dependent ecosystem. Prescribed fire is a process that's been around in our natural world for thousands and thousands of years and has shaped our landscapes and our biodiversity to what it is now. I think a lot of the misconceptions that people have about fire, that it's this terrible thing that burns up Bambi, and for decades now, Smokey the Bear's been saying only you can prevent forest fires, but a lot of people also don't look at the broader picture at how those fires might be an important part of our ecological processes that our natural systems here in the United States depend on.
We have what's called a burn plan, and it essentially is a prescription of what this site needs and how to burn it. Just like a doctor would write you a lot of details out about the appropriate way to go about handling your health, that's essentially what our burn plans and fire management plans tell us, is how we should go about having management activities to best mimic a natural fire return.
So more than 2/3 of Alabama's terrestrial ecosystems are fire adapted. So we have shortleaf pine ecosystems, blackland prairies, longleaf pine communities from coastal savannas up to our mountain longleaf. All of these systems, as I mentioned, evolved with fire, and so many of the species, not only animal species, but plant species, will not thrive or survive without fire.
So the ecosystem flourishes after a fire because what it's doing is, as it's working its way across the landscape, the fire is going to top kill some of the woody species that's shading out the understory. So what that's going to do then is it opens it up and allows those resources to hit the ground and thus promote grasses and forbs, flowers and such to start to get their roots and take hold on the landscape and in the ecosystem.
The Nature Conservancy hires staff themselves that carry out controlled burns and has a very high level of standard of training. You need folks that are lighting the fire, folks that are watching the fire line on the boundaries, someone that might be taking weather or being a lookout or being a communicator. And there's one burn boss that manages all of it and coordinates with the staff, make sure that it is a safe and effective fire.
Keith Tassin will be the burn boss for TNC.
So I've worked for the Nature Conservancy for about 28 years now. I'm responsible for managing all of our conservation staff and programs throughout Alabama. As I was doing a lot of the initial botanical inventory and learning about the ecosystems in the southeast, I realized how important fire was to the restoration and management of all those ecosystems, and that's when I really got into fire.
I got involved with prescribed fires about 20 years ago. I started on a project studying the effects of prescribed fire on reptile and amphibian communities and got involved with actually lighting the fires for the studies, as well as then going back in and collecting data after the fires have been completed. Probably my favorite part about fire is seeing what fire does later on. I try and limit my venomous snake handling as much as possible, although I work with them for a living, so. Oh, speaking of venomous snakes, we got our first venomous snake.
Whoa, nice.
Venomous snake.
Awesome. Oh.
Yeah, I think we're
They're a 3-year-old
at
dude.
this point. And,
They're pretty, but I don't like them.
Low sensitive.
see him, Jeff?
It just struck at me, so I think it's gonna hold its ground.
My career started in longleaf pine management, and so it's an ecosystem that's near and dear to my heart. The neat thing about longleaf is there's not just one plant community. You have mountain longleaf, you have savannas, you have pitcher plant bogs. The wildlife, the diversity of plants. I hope that with all the revived efforts through the America's Longleaf Initiative in the last 10 years, that we can bring back large areas of this once vast landscape to Alabama and to the southeast.
Longleaf ecosystem is thought to be the second most biodiverse habitat outside of the rainforest. So you can have 40 plant species within a square meter in some really rich longleaf pine habitats. So a big part of this work is making sure we have resources for fire crews, funding that will support that, and also the public support that understand why fire is such a necessary piece in the landscape.
10,000 years ago, fire could sweep across an entire landscape. But in our chopped up, fragmented version of the natural world that we have now as human beings, to maintain our biodiversity that depend on our forests, we have to actively manage our forests.
Because populations have grown so much that we do have unnatural fire breaks. We've got roads and interstates and highways and things like that. So it's very important that in prescribed fire that we maintain those fire breaks and boundaries where we're burning. But I think, in history, the lightning strikes started a lot of fires. And now there's a lot of tools that have to be used to manage those pieces of property.
Without prescribed fire, the natural succession would just exclude the species that are dependent on that fire, and those species are a lot of the ones that are in the most peril of extinction. Notable examples of these would be animals such as the gopher tortoise, which is incredibly dependent on fire-maintained ecosystems for its survival. And it in of itself is a keystone species.
So the gopher tortoise burrows act as refuge for all the other animals in the ecosystem. When a prescribed fire comes across, they all have a kind of a safe refuge to duck down into. And the gopher tortoise really, it relies on having that nice grassy ecosystem where it can come out of its burrow and move around and find plenty of forage. When the forest doesn't see fire, you get a lot of shade on the ground, so you end up with a lot of leaf litter. A lot of times they end up packing up and moving elsewhere, or just unfortunately dying off. When the fire's going over those gopher tortoises, it's kind of safe habitat for everyone. I've heard that there's this unspoken agreement between animals where they can all be hanging out in there, and it's kind of the, hey, we're all surviving this together, so food chain is suspended for now. And then once we get back out and we can get into our habitat, then it'll be game on.
So partnerships are incredibly important to accomplishing our burn objectives at a statewide level. Without partnerships, very few individual organizations or agencies have the capacity to implement fire at the scale that it needs to occur at. Back in 2009, a group of partners came together to form what's called the America's Longleaf Initiative, which is a goal to restore longleaf pine from 3.4 million acres up to 8 million acres by the year 2025. That alone will mean that we need to be burning millions of acres a year in the southeast. And so that's going to be one of the biggest challenges to doing restoration of our ecosystem. Fish and Wildlife Service in particular, they have very limited capacity of staff that assist them in doing prescribed fire. So they really rely on bringing other partners in to help them accomplish those burn objectives that they have.
As a manager for the Fish and Wildlife Service on National Wildlife Refuges, which are two refuges that we do have an active prescribed fire program on both of them. And one of our biggest partners that we have in prescribed fire is the Nature Conservancy. Being that we only have one employee here from Mountain Longleaf, Cahaba River, and Watercrest Darter National Wildlife Refuge, it's very important that we utilize our partnerships. One of our main partners in prescribed fire is TNC. Because of them and being able to utilize more boots on the ground and having more people out there to complete these prescribed burns, we are actually able to reach our management goals, and I really don't believe we'd be able to do that without them.
We work with many partners throughout the state, including federal agencies, state partners. We develop a lot of faith in our partnerships, we develop a lot of faith in each other's personnel, and when something does go a little bit sideways, we now know how to work together in a more effective and efficient way.
There's other ecosystems that we do burn outside of longleaf pine systems, and one of those being here at Mount Longleaf National Wildlife Refuge. We have a couple mountain seeps that we burn that house the threatened white fringeless orchid. Prescribed fire is a process that works very slowly, especially on tracts of timber that we're trying to restore back to pristine habitat condition. We're not going to reach that goal from burning one time. This is something that we have to do continuously for several years. It may be 20 years before you see a drastic change in the habitat.
The Weeks Bay Foundation started using fire for our juniper pitcher plant bog about 15 years ago. We have been monitoring white fringed orchids since we first started managing the property. And the first time that they were recorded on the property, there were 10. This past year, we had a count of 1,100 white fringed orchids in the same area. So we know that the management practices we're using, including prescribed burning, are helping that species. We try to pre-plan to let the community know that we are going to be burning and sort of preemptively put out photos that show before, when everything's kind of overgrown and dead and kind of messy, and then right after when, yeah, it looks kind of dark and charred and moonscape-like, and then a couple weeks later when everything's starting to come up again. So people can really see that it is a natural progression. You know, it isn't destroying the habitat, it's enhancing it. The ladies' hat pins and liatris and meadowsweet, pitcher plants. There's these funny little orange plants called bog Cheetos, and the animals come to that too. Pollinators come in the spring. It's amazing to see the dragonflies and the caddisflies and the pollinating flies and the parasitic wasps and moths, and it's just like the air is humming in a pitcher plant bog in the spring because of so many pollinators.
We try to build really good relationships with a lot of our neighbors around our preserves. A lot of times have worked with various private landowners.
In a push to increase longleaf acres by an additional 4.6 million, 80% is expected to happen on private land. So the private lands are a real key.
My name is Tony Diliberto. I'm a retired firefighter, 25 years. I've used prescribed burns on my property as well as what I've learned from being a firefighter, the benefits of it. When I bought this land many years ago, I wasn't a firefighter. My neighbor burnt his fields off. It would have been great, but he didn't have the right equipment, and it got away from him. And it got into my backwoods. Forestry came up to my home and told us to pack everything out of our home, that they probably wouldn't be able to stop it because it was raging so bad. My home was sitting in the middle of those woods. Well, thankfully the creek stopped it. But then after it happened and I became a firefighter, I realized, you know, there's a lot of benefits. Fire is scary, but then once you become a firefighter, you were taught how fire works. And it wasn't scary anymore.
When we do a prescribed fire, there's always the risk that that fire could get out of those containment lines. And so a lot of our preparation is really planning what the contingencies would be if that were to happen. Where would we stop it? How would we stop it? What is your escape route if something were to happen? One of the most obvious places is to escape into an area that's already been burned because it won't burn again. So that's escaping into the black.
So when people use the term in the black or go through the black, the idea is it's black because there's no fuel left in there. It's all ash at that point. So if you were caught somewhere in the fire and you got into the black, it would be considered a safe zone. Whereas if you end up in a green zone and you may not know which side the fire is being burned from at that point.
People would want to do prescribed burns. The first thing I tell them is called forestry. There's rules and regulations that you have to abide by, because when you light that match, you're responsible for all the results from that one match.
I wouldn't advise anyone, any landowner or any individual to just go out and attempt to do this without some type of training. There are lots of resources out there through the Alabama Prescribed Fire Council, Alabama Forestry Commission. Before you ever would attempt to do prescribed fire on your own, make sure you look at all the training that's available.
My wife laughs at me, and what to get me, she just told me I was a pyro, but I'm gonna tell you what, if you're cleaning land and trying to manage land, fire cleans it up so much quicker and nicer.
You know, anybody that does prescribed fire would be lying if they told you they weren't in a closet pyromaniac, but I'm just fascinated with the different effects that take place and how quickly the vegetation responds. You can do that with other things, but they cost 2 to 5 times as much, and they don't provide as good an ecological benefit to the overall habitat as prescribed fire does.
Most of the volunteers that we utilize in prescribed fire come from natural resource backgrounds. They really thrive and enjoy being able to get the training and participating in a professional manner in doing that prescribed burning.
My name is Sahoy Thrower, and I'm a part of the Porch Creek community. We're the only federally recognized tribe in Alabama. My grandmother taught me a lot about traditional plant use, and a lot of medicinal plants that pop up in the understory and the herbaceous layer of the forest are fire dependent. I decided to major in environmental science just out of my love for nature. And the more I learned, the more I realized how important fire was. I was able to blend traditional ecological knowledge and an upbringing of folk uses with my scientific background that I had at that point. Not far from the Porch Reservation is a place called Splinter Hill Bog, and it's just a beautiful showcase for what happens when you use a fire regimen. I saw the signs for the Nature Conservancy all over the park, and I said, okay, I need to learn more about this. I'm going to ask them how I can help.
We burn large areas of that preserve every other year. Over a spring season, there'll be hundreds of people that will visit.
I've been lucky enough to go on probably about 10 prescribed burns at the Nature Conservancy. Now I've been a pretty regular volunteer, so I'm just really happy to learn more and more. In terms of parts of our culture that were unfortunately lost to time, the language disappeared, the songs disappeared. A lot of things in our culture went away. Indigenous fire management is one of them. I'm trying to bring that back. So me going the scientific route and working with Nature Conservancy and learning from professionals on how to burn is me learning it where I can now and then trying to apply it from a native perspective.
I am a Porch Creek elder. We were one of the first that tried to prescribe burning. Ended up getting a grant from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And the more we tried to burn, the better off we were. We done a lot of burning because I think that is the way for us to keep restoring our tribal heritage.
From a native perspective, I consider anybody who's putting fire on the ground in Alabama an ally to us as Native people, because the more that our landscape and biodiversity is kept up, that enhances our cultural legacy.
One thing I think it's important that we remember is this property belongs to the citizens of the United States of America, and it's our job to protect that land and manage it for them and for our future generations so that our kids as kids and their kids can enjoy this wonderful outdoors that we have.
Having been able to be in Alabama for 20 years now and having some areas that we manage that have seen, 8, 10, 12 rounds of prescribed fire and have really changed over time, and they're almost back the way that they historically looked. To me, that's my favorite part of prescribed fire, is just seeing the long-term effects and the restoration and the recovery of the species that occur.
This is a cool snake called a black. No.
He just wants to smoke.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's like it's doing this. Okay, let's just do it.
The magic Muskogee school bus. Don't put that in there.
Way to do something on cue, Turtle. Finally come out of your shell.
Was that pun intended?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you gotta have a good turtle pun in there.